After 2000 hours in Rocket League, all with a keyboard and mouse, I've made the switch to a controller. This video is number 6 in a series documenting the journey of switching from KBM to controller. In this video, I'm going to be comparing my benchmark scores against other benchmark scores to see how the benchmark scores have evolved to become different from the original benchmark scores. With that, we can evaluate the efficiency of the current training routine and adjust it regardless of the results, because I've gotten a bit bored of it by now. Afterwards, I'll get on with playing some competitive games and show a little about how I approach the games to win on a controller despite having a mechanical consistency comparable to that of a 3-year-old with a Rubik's Cube. Before I start with the main part of the video, however, I'd like to share that I tried using ChatGPT to help me write this script, but that was possibly the biggest disaster since the invention of lead poisoning. Here's a joke it wrote when I asked for one about Rocket League. Why did the soccer ball bring a ladder to the Rocket League match? Because it wanted to go for a higher score. If you haven't yet, please go and watch the first couple videos for more context, and please touch those buttons underneath the video. They feel really nice to the touch. Go try them. Consensually, of course. To begin, the first score I set in the Dribble Overhaul 2 benchmark was level 16 in 15 minutes. Just after a couple days of playing the map for 15 minutes a day, I started passing the level with only about 8 minutes on the clock. Eventually, reaching level 24 in 15 minutes was my best result, but I didn't reach it again in the days after, so I did another intentional benchmark run today and wrote down the result, which ironically also happened to be level 24. If you are following along the training routine, don't get disheartened if your progress plateaus in an earlier level. It's not a linear growth, and I have the advantage of knowing how the mechanic works back from when I was a KBM player. Next up, the aerial benchmark in Speed Jump Rings 3 by DMC. Here I had a reasonable initial result that I was already quite proud of. Interestingly, the benchmark score was quite a bit worse today. I suspect it is because, instead of trying to finish the map by being as careful as possible, I tried going as fast as possible, which led to me making more mistakes. Unfortunately, despite Rings maps being quite fun to do, I've come to the conclusion that the value I get out of doing these maps is not worth the time investment. I will continue doing Rings occasionally, but keep slalom practice as my main training drill for aerials. If you're wondering why I think Rings are not worth the time, just look at how massive they are. You could probably fit multiple cars at once into them and none of them would be satisfied. And by the time I get to any levels that create some more awkward situations that require more advanced car control to get through quickly, 10 minutes have basically passed already. On the other hand, slalom's practice features constant direction changes. It may seem simple at first glance, but you'll quickly find yourself questioning how these angles can be so tight, yet so hard to deal with every adjustment needing to be much more accurate than in Rings maps, which give you basically infinite space to recover if needed. And finally, besides training for the next benchmark scores, I'm making sure to spend what's actually most of my training time on the basics: recoveries, shooting, and whatever I can come up with in free play, such as flicks and cuts and questioning reality. But now, let's get to gaming. Since the last episode, I've completed the placement games for all 3 main game modes, placing Diamond 1 in all of them. Which is quite curious, but also probably a good starting point, because the games will probably pose some challenges to me, since everyone around me will be astronomically superior when it comes to mechanics. Anyway, here's how the games in Diamond 1 go. Unfortunately, I was immediately met with immeasurable disappointment, which ruined my day. I'm glad I stepped over Platinum like a stinking pile of shit on a pavement in London. Right after the first kickoff, complete chaos ensued. Even though my own decision making is nothing to be admired, my teammate threw himself out of the play, passed the ball, and then the opponent touched the ball straight to me without any chance of following it up. And their last man was nowhere near being able to contribute to the play, leaving me in such a favourable situation. If I had any ability to aim my shot backboard, give a pass, or control the ball for a hook shot or a flick, this would be a goal 8 out of 10 times. This next clip describes the vibe of today's grind session quite well. Fake challenge, they toss the ball away, and then overcommit in my corner, leaving open net. A few situations frustrated me a little bit, unrightfully though. It's not fair of me to assume my teammates in Diamond 1 would play with the game sense of a Champ 2 player. Regardless, sometimes I was stuck questioning whether I should rather just touch grass instead of sacrificing my brain cells in certain lobbies. But obviously, expecting them to position better, recover faster, or touch more accurately is a mistake on my end. I have to be positioned and prepared for the worst possible outcome, not the one I'd like to happen. Overestimating this also led me to losing 1 or 2 games. I wish I had more to show, but didn't want to repeat myself from previous episodes too much. Every single game the opponent team left an open net about every 20 seconds, some of which we were able to hit. In about 40 minutes, I found myself in Diamond 2. I'm going to conclude the grind with one tip that I have for you fellow Diamonds out there, and of course it also applies if you're below Diamond. Remember that you do not want to leave your teammate in a 1v2. So when you challenge the ball, try not to commit yourself in a way where you cannot be back in time. Here's a list of possible challenge types, in order of least to most committal. Whenever choosing how to challenge the opponent, always do the least risky one, unless the situation strictly prevents you from doing that. My initial expectation was to end up stuck in Platinum 3 or Diamond 1, but it now seems that Diamond 3 is more likely to be the ultimate choke point, for 2s at least. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to hear more about what decisions I make and how I approach the games here in Diamond. With so many pros having done series such as Road to GC without mechanics, a champ player doing it, I'm sure, provides a much more realistic look into it. As I don't have the benefits of having the game sense nor the ability to read the play at the speed of an SSL. In the next episode, I will start learning the speed flip and continue the grind until I hopefully get stuck. Remember about the subscribe button.